Chosen one, this message didn't find you by accident. God led you here for a reason. This is a divine confirmation, a holy whisper that your path has never been ordinary, and your future is nothing short of supernatural. Just like Enoch, you were never meant to blend in, settle down, or be fully understood by the world around you. Your walk with God is setting you apart in ways that even you can't always explain. But soon, your removal, your shift, your exit, your ascension will not only be divine, it will be the ultimate revelation of who you truly were all along. Let's break this prophetic insight into 7 powerful chapters so you can fully understand the mystery of your calling and the magnitude of what's coming. Before we dive deep, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, because this message isn't just content, it's a divine confirmation for the chosen ones, and a heartfelt thank you to everyone who's been supporting through Super Thanks. God bless you richly. Your support, your presence, and your faithfulness do not go unnoticed. To every listener, every believer, and every spirit aligned with this frequency, I'm truly grateful. If your spirit resonates right now, type 77 in the comments. That number is not random. It's a prophetic code that signals you're ready. Ready for the shift, the separation, and the supernatural elevation that's coming. Not everyone will stay to the end of this message, and that's intentional. Only the truly chosen, the ones marked like Enoch, will understand what's being spoken in the spirit. Those who remain will gain revelation, clarity, and divine insight into why God is about to remove them, not as a punishment, but as a public confirmation of their hidden walk. This isn't a message you hear once and move on. This is a spiritual key, a blueprint of your next dimension. Rewatch it when your spirit is stirred, because each time, more of God's mystery will be revealed to you. Let's get into it. Chapter 1. You walk differently. That's why you're being taken differently. Enoch didn't die. That fact alone breaks every rule of the natural world. He didn't go through the pain, fear, or decline that others around him eventually faced. He didn't have a funeral. There was no mourning period. He simply walked with God until he walked right into another realm. One moment he was here, the next he was gone. Not because he failed to finish his purpose, but because his purpose had reached a level where the earth could no longer contain him. Enoch's exit was not an accident. It was an act of divine selection. And it wasn't dramatic or loud. It was quiet but powerful. God didn't remove him for punishment. He removed him for preservation, for elevation, for honor. Chosen one, you were never made to follow the typical path. Your life is a spiritual outlier. The systems that work for others don't work for you. The routines they follow don't sit right with your soul. That's because your spirit has been marked by heaven for something uncommon. You don't walk like others. You don't crave validation. You're not seduced by applause. You've been through situations that should have broken you, but they built you. You've endured losses that made others bitter, but you came out wiser, more compassionate, and more aware. Your peace didn't come from possession. Your clarity came from long, quiet, sometimes painful seasons alone with God. Seasons where no one clapped, no one watched, and no one helped, but heaven saw everything. You walk with depth. You walk with discernment. There is a weight on your presence that speaks before you open your mouth. People may not fully understand you, but they can feel something on you. You carry wisdom that didn't come from study, but from surrender. This is why you've never truly fit in. You tried to downplay your gifts, but they resurfaced. You tried to stay where you were comfortable, but the discomfort kept growing. That was God not punishing you, but calling you out of limitation. The truth is, many people around you have become too familiar with your presence. They've underestimated your depth. Some even believe they can define or label you because they've seen your process, but never discerned your purpose. But now God is shifting the atmosphere. He is preparing to take you, not necessarily in the physical sense, but spiritually, emotionally, relationally, even geographically. You are being removed from where people last saw you, last measured you, last labeled you, and when they look again, you will no longer be where they left you. They'll search for you in old rooms and find silence. They'll expect you to respond the same way and be met with stillness. They'll look for your presence in familiar places, but you won't be there because you've outgrown the last version of your assignment. The level of intimacy you've developed with God has made you untraceable in the natural. Your patterns have changed. Your spirit has matured. And just like Enoch, your private walk has activated a public shift. God is taking you in a way that won't make sense to the crowd. They won't understand why you stopped engaging, why you stopped participating in cycles that drained you, but you will know, because it's not burnout, it's breakthrough. Chapter 2, Your removal will be your revelation. When God removed Enoch, it wasn't just an act of love, it was an act of confirmation. It was heaven making a statement to the earth. Enoch didn't just live righteously, he lived so closely with God that the boundary between the natural and the supernatural was no longer necessary. He didn't just have faith, he became faith in motion. His removal was not random, and it wasn't silent. It was divine evidence that he was not meant to remain in a world that could no longer carry the weight of his purity, his alignment, or his divine assignment. God didn't remove Enoch to isolate him, he removed him to identify him. It was the moment when what had been spiritually true all along became visibly undeniable. Enoch was different, he had always been different, but it took his disappearance to confirm what words never could. His exit spoke louder than his existence ever did. It was God saying to the world, "This one walked with me, and I'm taking him where you cannot go." Chosen one, your removal is not a punishment, it's a prophecy being fulfilled. You may have started unnoticed. You may have been misunderstood for years. Your obedience may have looked foolish to others. Your integrity may have cost you opportunities. And your isolation may have been misinterpreted as failure. But none of that was waste. Every quiet step of obedience, every silent battle you endured, every room you left without explaining yourself, every time you chose peace over proving a point, it all added up, and now your removal is coming. Not because you're quitting, not because you're unqualified, definitely not because you've been forgotten. It's the opposite. You've outgrown your old assignments. You've completed what you were sent to do in certain places. You've poured out your light in rooms that didn't even know what they were holding. And now heaven is ready to reveal what's been hidden. Your exit will not be dramatic, but it will be undeniable. You're not just shifting in space, you're shifting in spiritual stature. People who thought they had you figured out will suddenly realize they never knew you at all. People who dismissed you as average will be left speechless when they see what God does next. Because your departure is not just an ending, it's a revelation. The moment God begins to unfold the layers of who you truly are, the same people who ignored you in plain sight will now wonder where you went. They'll notice the silence, they'll feel the void, they'll remember the value you carried only after it's removed. Because your presence was carrying more than they were ready to recognize. And when you go, whether it's a physical relocation, a spiritual shift, or a sudden elevation, something will click. Not just in the atmosphere, but in the minds of those who underestimated you. A divine awareness will hit them, a realization that sounds something like this. They were never like us. They never belonged to this system. They were always different. They were always marked. They were always chosen. Your removal is your reveal. It's God pulling the veil off your life. It's the moment the quiet one becomes the confirmed one. The one they questioned becomes the one God validates in full view. You won't have to defend your name. You won't have to fight to be seen. God himself is making the announcement through your absence. Chapter 3. God's been hiding you in plain sight. Just like Enoch, you've been walking closely with God behind the scenes. While the world was distracted by noise, numbers, and name recognition, you were in alignment, quietly obeying, silently growing. You weren't looking for status, you were looking for God, and that's exactly why he chose you. You've been placed in jobs that didn't match your calling, situations that felt too small for your spirit, rooms that didn't understand your presence. You've been surrounded by people who couldn't recognize your light, not because you didn't shine, but because they weren't ready to see. You've been hidden in plain sight, misjudged by surface-level eyes, overlooked by those who only measure value through visibility, but God saw you the whole time. Your invisibility wasn't rejection, it was protection. It wasn't delay, it was divine strategy. He was concealing what he was building, because certain things must be protected before they can be revealed. A holy unveiling takes time, and you, chosen one, are not just a person, you're a prophecy. You carry too much oil to be exposed too early. Too much anointing to be thrown into places that lack reverence. Too much depth to be wasted on shallow platforms. Enoch wasn't revealed by fame or praise. There was no public coronation. He didn't need applause, validation, or viral approval. His revelation came through disappearance. When he was gone, people suddenly realized what they had lost. His absence said what his words could not. His removal was louder than his presence. It was the confirmation that he was never meant to remain ordinary. He was walking with God the entire time. Chosen one, the same is true for you. Some people won't understand your worth until you're no longer answering their calls, until your presence is no longer in their space, until they reach for you and find only silence. You've been consistent for so long, they began to confuse your availability with their entitlement. They assumed your presence was permanent. But God is about to shift that, because the value of what's been hidden is about to be revealed through sudden removal. You've been assigned to seasons and environments that were temporary shelters, not permanent home. But people treated your presence as if you owed them your time, your energy, your gifts. What they didn't realize was that you weren't standing in those spaces because of them. You were there because God kept you there, until the appointed time, until the assignment was complete, until the hidden version of you was fully matured and ready to be unveiled. Now the hiding is coming to an end, but don't expect fanfare. Don't expect the crowd to celebrate your exit, because some won't even understand what they lost, until your light is no longer there to guide them. Your departure may confuse them, but it will convict them. It will show them that access to the chosen is a privilege, not a guarantee. Don't mourn the exit, don't second-guess the release, embrace it, because this is not just a physical shift, it's a prophetic unveiling. God is removing the veil, layer by layer, revealing the fullness of what He's been cultivating in you all this time. The anointing, the authority, the wisdom, the clarity, it's all coming to the surface. You were never forgotten. You were preserved. You were never stuck. You were planted. You were never invisible to God. You were hidden for impact. Chapter 4. Not everyone can go where you're going. Enoch didn't take a crowd with him. He didn't ask for anyone's permission. He didn't wait for others to understand his calling. When God took him, it was private, it was sacred, it was intentional. There was no announcement, no farewell tour, no ceremony. Just divine elevation, executed in complete silence. God didn't need to explain Enoch's departure to the world, because when heaven moves, it doesn't always come with earthly explanation. Chosen one, the same is happening with you. The season you're stepping into is not meant for everyone. God is calling you to rise, and not everyone has the spiritual lungs to breathe where He's taking you. You've been feeling it, haven't you? Certain relationships feel distant. Conversations that once felt full now feel empty. Environments that once comforted you now feel heavy, awkward, even agitating. That's not a coincidence, it's confirmation. You're outgrowing what no longer reflects who you truly are. And here's the truth. Everyone can't go where you're going, not because you're better than them, but because what's required of you is different. What's ahead of you demands more focus, more faith, more freedom. And some people you're still attached to were only meant to walk with you for a portion of the journey, not the full path. Their assignment in your life has ended. But your assignment with God is just getting started. Opportunities are shifting, doors are closing, not to limit you, but to lift you. When God begins to elevate a person, he often starts by eliminating what can't sustain them at the next level. You may feel like things are falling apart, but in truth, things are falling into place. He's subtracting distractions so he can multiply your clarity. He's removing weight so you can move faster. He's pruning your surroundings, not as punishment, but as preparation. It hurts sometimes, doesn't it? Losing people you thought would stay. Watching bonds fade without explanation. Being misunderstood when all you did was grow. But this pain is part of the process. It's the price of elevation. And Enoch knew it too. He didn't resist the pull of God, just to remain familiar with the people. He walked with God so closely that the world around him could no longer hold on to him. Chosen one, don't get frustrated with what's falling away. Don't mourn the loss of access or companionship. If God allowed the separation, it means the connection could not survive the calling. If it could have grown with you, it would have. But God is teaching you that peace is more powerful than popularity. That purpose is more permanent than proximity. That destiny is more sacred than comfort. You're not being arrogant by stepping away. You're not being unloving by guarding your energy. You're being wise. You're being obedient. You're protecting the oil on your life. And that oil is too costly to spill on unworthy ground. Everyone can't handle what you carry. Everyone can't walk with a person who is becoming what you're becoming. Chapter 5. Your removal will stun the onlookers. When Enoch was taken, the people were stunned. They had seen him among them, yet they never fully understood who he was. They knew he walked differently. They sensed something unusual about his spirit. But they didn't grasp the magnitude of his calling. Not until he was gone. Chosen one, your life will follow that same divine pattern. While you're here, people may overlook you. They may mislabel your silence as weakness, your obedience as foolishness, your isolation as failure. But they don't see what God sees. They only see the outer shell. But God sees the oil inside. And when God finally removes you from the crowd, from the cycles, from the noise, those same people who dismissed you will be left in stunned silence. Because they'll realize too late you were never just another person. You were a living sign, a prophetic presence, a whisper from God wrapped in human form. Your removal will not be a fall. It will be a flight. You won't vanish because you lost. You'll vanish because you'll disappear from certain places and relationships. Not because you were rejected, but because you were redirected. Your destiny demanded it. And your absence will preach louder than your presence ever could. They'll replay your words and realize you were speaking truth. They'll remember your silence and realize it was strength. They'll feel your absence and realize it was presence. Chosen one, people rarely recognize who you are while they still have access to you. Some only see your value once they can no longer touch it. That's why God allowed misunderstanding. Because your impact wasn't designed to be obvious, but undeniable. Your departure is going to shock the system. People will try to figure out how you ascended, how everything changed so suddenly, but they won't be able to explain it naturally. Because what's coming isn't natural, it's supernatural. Some will say, we didn't know they were that deep. Others will whisper, something was always different about them. And others will simply go silent. Because the truth will speak for itself. God is writing your exodus to expose how misunderstood you were. They saw your pain, but not your purpose. They saw your delay, but not your discipline. And now as God lifts you, they'll see what they missed. Elevation without explanation. That's what happened with Enoch. He didn't defend his difference. He just walked, faithfully, quietly. And one day, he was no longer there. That moment became his legacy. Not his preaching, but his disappearance. The same will be true for you. Your exit will mark the beginning of revelation for those who knew you. Some will reflect. Some will try to return. But by then your assignment there will be sealed. God will have relocated you on every level because your time in that space will be complete. Don't mourn that they didn't see it while you were there. Don't get bitter about delayed recognition. That's part of the design. God often hides his greatest treasures in plain sight, until he reveals them by removal. You weren't just born to be seen. You were born to be a sign. And when God lifts you, your absence will reveal the full weight of your identity. So don't resist the removal because your exit will echo long after you're gone. Chapter 6. This exit is not an end. It's an ascension. Enoch didn't just disappear. He ascended. God took him higher. Above earthly battles, above confusion, above distractions, above the weight of a world that couldn't carry the weight of who he truly was. It wasn't a vanishing, it was a vindication, and chosen one. The same is about to happen in your life. What looks like a removal is actually a relocation. What feels like a sudden exit is actually an eternal elevation. You're not being dismissed, you're being distinguished. You're not being shut out, you're being called up. Because God doesn't demote his vessels, he promotes them through separation. Some people will think you walked away, some will assume you gave up. But the truth is, God took you, just like he took Enoch. Took you from the noise, from the limits, from the system, from the people who couldn't discern the oil on your life. It might not make sense at first, it might feel like you're losing something. It might even break your heart to say goodbye to familiar faces, familiar places. But what you're feeling isn't death, it's departure. Departure from the old level, departure from the old mindset, departure from the old season. You're not being replaced, you're being relocated. You're not being abandoned, you're being assigned. You're not losing your voice. You're gaining volume in a higher realm. This is what spiritual ascension looks like. It doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it comes with quiet exits, unanswered questions, and closed doors. But behind every closed door is a divine corridor, a path only the anointed can walk. Chosen one, you are stepping into rooms your enemies can't access, dimensions your old habits can't survive, levels your former life wasn't built for. And that's why the shift feels uncomfortable, because you're growing wings in a place where everyone else is still walking. Don't confuse the pain of elevation with the punishment of rejection. You're not being cast out, you're being caught up into purpose, caught up into clarity, caught up into divine alignment. This is not an end, it's an ascension, and it's not just spiritual, it's mental, emotional, relational, even financial. Every area of your life is being lifted. Not because you chased a platform, but because you honored your process. You didn't force doors open, you waited for the right ones to swing wide by divine order, and now they are. This new level doesn't require you to prove yourself. You won't need to explain your absence. You won't need to justify your elevation. Those who doubted will be silent. Those who mocked will be amazed. And those who tried to follow won't be able to keep up, because your path was never theirs. You're stepping into a space where only the chosen go. So when you arrive, when the shift finally happens, you'll look back with holy clarity. Not with bitterness, not with regret, but with reverence. Because you'll see what you couldn't see before. The removal was the reward. Chapter 7. This is the season God makes you untouchable. The story of Enoch ends in mystery, but it echoes with majesty. A man so aligned with God, so wrapped in divine presence, that the world couldn't lay a claim on him. He walked with God, and then he was no more. Not because he died, but because he transcended. His assignment on earth was complete, and his life became a symbol. When you walk that closely with God, you become untouchable, chosen one. That's what your life is becoming. You've been hidden for a reason, isolated not to punish you, but to prepare you. God has taken you through fire that didn't consume you, through storms that didn't drown you, through battles that didn't break you, because he was forging something in you that the world couldn't contaminate. You didn't just survive, you endured with holiness. You didn't just hold on, you grew in silence, and now the reward for your consecration is coming. And it's not just a blessing, it's a realm where gossip can't reach you, a realm where warfare loses its grip, a realm where the opinions of man have no jurisdiction over your calling, a realm where what once intimidated you can no longer touch you, because when God makes you untouchable, it's not about pride, it's about protection. It's about insulation. It's about elevation into a dimension where only obedience can take you. You've walked in rooms where demons tried to discourage you, but you didn't flinch. You prayed when no one saw. You stayed when your flesh wanted to flee. And now you're about to be sealed. Not sealed by man's approval, not sealed by applause, but sealed by heaven's endorsement. Just like Enoch, your walk has become your testimony. The way you moved in silence, the way you released what hurt you so God could give you what healed you. All of it has built an altar that now reaches God's throne, and God is responding. You're not being delayed, you're being fortified for destiny. The people who used to have access to you will look around, and you'll be gone. Gone from their drama, gone from the cycles they tried to keep you trapped in. But don't mistake this exit for a disappearance. This is a divine announcement. God is revealing you to the ones who tried to bury you in doubt, to the spirits that tried to delay your legacy, to the generations that will one day say, "Because of them I believe." This is the season. God makes your difference visible. This is the season. God makes your light too bright to hide. You're not becoming famous. You're becoming feared in the spirit. You're not gaining popularity. You're gaining divine immunity. No curse can rest on what God has marked.